Hi guys, Joel here from Paddle Nation. Today I'm very excited. We're joined by a special guest with us today, one of Great Britain's SUP team, Andy Joyce. Andy, welcome.
Hi, how you
Uh,
doing? Okay.
yeah, how you doing today?
Yeah, very well, thanks. And pretty light training day, and I've actually done some stuff hanging out with son and family as well. So it's been quite a chilled out day.
Excellent. So just very quickly, Andy, for those people that don't know that may not be into the sport or may not have met you previously, so you represent Britain as part of the SUP team. You run a surf and SUP school in Bournemouth called Surf Steps. You're a surf and SUP coach educator, a surf life-saving Great Britain trainer, and a member of the Starboard UK team.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, doing a little bit of stuff for water sports.
So that must keep you pretty busy. Is there anything in there that I missed, or any extra time you have for anything else?
Yeah, apart from that, when you're throwing the training and then spending time with family and friends and trying to, yeah, that pretty much fills it up. So things like doing odd jobs around the house, yeah, they sometimes get shifted out.
So, and Andy, thank you very much for joining us today and for agreeing to go through and have us ask you a few questions. We can obviously feed that out to other people into the sport. So, I guess the best place to start is, where did it all start for you specifically? I guess from an SUP perspective, what was it that got you into it, and how did that all began really for you?
Sure. Well, because we run a surf school down in Bournemouth about 2007, 2008. We were always we're looking at options of things to do when it's flat, and of course south coast of England and in fact the North Atlantic goes from a time where in the winter we get there's a lot of waves in the Atlantic, and then it goes our summers get a lot of high pressure, so gets quite flat, especially on the south coast. So when people started doing stand-up paddleboarding and we saw it in the media, we sort of tried to source whatever we could, and we started trying to do stand-up paddleboarding using like tandem longboards and stuff like
Okay.
that. Yeah. And guys were doing things like using windsurfers, without the masks on and
Yeah.
sails, and getting a whole lot of basically bits of wood and just or whatever they could get their hands on and just doing it. So what we did is then we started thinking, well, this is going to be great. This is something that we can do that pretty much anyone that wanted to come for or were interested in surfing or a water sport thought, well, it was a good flat water alternative. So we tried to locate as much equipment as we could at the time, which was quite difficult. But eventually, yeah, and over a period of say the last sort of 6 years or so, we've basically developed to the point where the equipment's got better, and a lot of our work now is stand-up paddleboarding.
Excellent. It's been amazing to see the sort of growth in the equipment and the sort of the technology and everything that comes with it. So that's been fascinating for us to see and quite interesting to hear. So when you first started, because now you obviously race for the Great British team, is that something when you first started paddleboarding yourself that you thought you'd like to do one day, or did you just sort of fall into it? Was it a goal originally, or?
Yeah, no, not at all. It's been 45 now as well, so it was just like I still pinch myself. I can't believe the series of events that's actually brought me to this. Especially the further back you go in time, the less likely it was going to happen. In fact, because of the way the selection process was done last year, it was using the race series respectively. I didn't really know until January that I was actually going to go, and then so even now it's still a feeling that it's quite surreal, because normally if the sport was more developed, you would have gone through a training, an athlete pathway towards Great Britain selection, rather than like, you've done quite well, off you go,
Yeah, no, definitely. It seems a bit different from a lot of sports where you might have to be in for example, your your late teens, early 20s, and sort of peak physical kind of fitness type of thing. It seems that actually a lot of people in the different teams will be 30s, 40s, and it's more sort of about kind of the stamina and the technique, I guess, as opposed to being really really sort of young like swimmers might be.
Sure. It's just probably it wasn't that the pathway was laid out sort of quite defined because it's development sport, but because if you look at perhaps because I started surfing when I was 12, and I sort of carried on sort of a relatively high level of sport, competitive sport like rugby and that sort of thing. So there was a lot of cross training or base for this to happen. And then, yeah, there's a lot of paddle sports technical base. SUP might be for about 10 seconds or 25 seconds of a race, a sprint race, but then it's an endurance, it is primarily an endurance sport, no matter, unless it's less lost mills, how fast you can paddle a kilometre or that sort of thing. So, yeah, the interesting thing is now, as we're finding, because we've got a lot more sort of an older population and older athletes as well, there's a lot of some of our top paddlers are over the age of 40 in the United Kingdom. So yeah, it's we'll see. It'll probably change as the sport of stand-up paddleboarding develops.
Yeah, I was going to say it'll be interesting to see whether that changes over the coming years as people come in are younger and see how that changes. And just obviously at the head of the dart, one of the youngsters picking up some of the first places and obviously finishing in a very quick time. So I guess that's already starting to happen. So in terms of training, then, what would your normal sort of day or week look like for training? Because obviously you're very busy, as we've seen. You've got your own business with your school and such. Obviously you've got your training routines, I guess, for the world. So what would that normally look like for you?
Okay, normally I would do something I would train at least 5 days a week. Normally 6, and if I haven't got any races or anything I need to sort of like peak for, I'll sometimes do 7. But it's a case of, for me, I find little and often works well for me because as I've got older, and the science says that older people our recovery times are slower.
Yeah.
So I can't do a very high intensity workout on an evening and then do a really high intensity workout the next morning. Well, I can, but I start to basically fatigue, and I find it harder to develop my fitness. So what I normally do is I do a cross-training session in the morning. It could be strength and conditioning, could be a bit of running, some surf, off-road surf, a bit of cycling, just something, and flexibility, and looking at like body flexibility has been really important. And then I'll do, normally in the afternoon or evening, I'll usually do some sort of like SUP-based training, and that I periodise, which means that I change the frequencies and intensities of what I'm doing in regards to training through the year. But so yeah, normally 2 intervals, maybe a maximum 2 hours a day for 5 to 7 days a week. Okay,
so a fair amount of training obviously goes into it behind the scenes.
Yeah. It's good fun. What happens is you get to the point, especially the longer you do it, you actually get used to doing it. And the only thing that really stops you doing it a lot of the time is your mental state, your state of mind. And you have to sort of like just throw yourself over that hurdle. And once you're actually starting to train, you're usually fine from there on in.
Yeah. No, that's good. And has that changed at all coming into the Worlds? Obviously, next month you're going over to Mexico for the Worlds. Has your training got to increase for that, or do you just pretty much keep the same routine?
Yeah, actually similar to what I was doing last year. But what I did is the early stuff from November to February this year. I basically broke down everything. What I did, I had quite a long rest period, and then I started to do a lot of sort of aerobic base training, which is sort of like the longer, lower intensity things.
Yeah.
And I did a lot of cross training. So I was doing probably doing more cycling, running, swimming, surfing than I was actually doing of the paddleboarding. And when I was paddleboarding, I do sort of slower, longer paddles, and I was doing things like I was changing my technique. I was literally stripping it down. I was looking at speaking to other people, getting advice, getting people to watch. Like we'd go paddling with mates. People like friends like Ryan and Scott Brown would sort of go, oh yeah, you need to do maybe a little bit more of this. You need to relax. These are all really, and what was happening was with our local races and the winter races, I wasn't doing very very well in because I wasn't at race fitness, and it was quite frustrating to normally would have done better, but it was worth doing that because what's happened, and I've changed my paddles around. I tried numerous different types of paddle sizes and types, and now I'm actually paddling faster than I ever had before because of, I think, breaking it down and starting again and doing things probably more logically sensible than what you want to do at the time,
Yeah, yeah, and certainly I saw you at the head of the dart. You looked like you were flying pretty much against the headwind coming back up. So you certainly seem to have the speed down.
Yeah. Smaller guys, ahead one, smaller guys tend to have an advantage because there's less surface area to blow around as well.
Yeah. I saw a lot of people taking to their knees on the way back just to sort of get through the wind, basically.
Yeah, it was really hard for those guys because what happens is the river was draining faster and faster. So I think the head current, and the gusts, and different types of equipment, different sized people. I think it probably got harder to make any head ground the longer longer the race was going for individuals.
Yeah, it certainly seemed like that. So one of the things we were quite interested in, obviously it's a newer sport than some more established sports, is around sort of sponsorship and such. So you're sponsored by Starboard. You're a member of their SUP team in the UK. I think you use their equipment, their paddles. I mean, is there a preference you have in terms of the SUP you use and the equipment you use, or you touched on it briefly then about different types of paddles?
Sure. But the Starboard range is really, really good. There's a lot of boards in it, but they all I seem to find that they work very well. Also got to be in the right conditions. Although they've taken their All-Star, which is this sort of more of their sort of surf, in and out for surf, downwinding style race board, and they've made it a little bit flatter this year. So it's actually really, really good at water. I've had some, good speeds and stuff on, so which has been really nice. I'm actually not. I like to try loads of stuff out, so I'll give everything a go and stuff. But normally for me, I'll go for sort of like a lighter carbon board, and also low literage, or using a smaller board because I'm quite light. I'm only 72 kgs and some people make a joke of about 5'6", but I think I'm roughly about 5'9". So I use a smaller board. It's also probably why I do 12.6 rather than 14 foot.
Yeah. And I noticed at the race, actually I hadn't picked up on it before, but I noticed at the race that pretty much I think everybody that finished in the top end were all using one-piece paddles. I assume that's because two-piece and three-piece give you a bit more bend, and one piece is just more solid. You can get more power from the stroke.
Yeah, yes, no. I mean, the main thing's weight. One of the main factors is weight, because when you have a two-piece paddle, you've got more. You've got your locking mechanisms and all that, which make it heavier. If you imagine that the shaft, most people use carbon shaft and blades, so that it's wound. If you imagine it's a fibre, it's wound all the way down, or through the whole blade. It gives a better bend characteristics. A lot of people like bigger, some people prefer a really rigid, non-flexible shaft. Some people prefer it. It also depends if you're doing really, really long distance. It's probably good for your shaft to have a bit of flex in it, because what I found initially with I'm using free paddles now, and initially I found them, they used to literally wreck my shoulders because they're so rigid.
Yeah.
Shaft characteristics. But what I've actually found now is when I made my paddles a little bit shorter and made new smaller blades, I could go back to a more rigid blade. And I've actually found now that I'm paddling, using a ZRE, I'm probably paddling nearly the right size and the right length, which all that period in the winter was trying to work out that. I found that I can actually paddle nearly on flat water about half a mile an hour faster than what I was before.
Okay.
Blades.
I was going to say it's obviously now that the equipment's getting better, as you spoke about earlier. It's going to make a difference now to those little changes between equipment. Just getting a little bit faster, so that half mile an hour faster can make all the difference between sort of winning a race and losing a race, especially over longer distances. So it's quite interesting to sort of see all the different kit as it's coming out, and obviously Red and Starboard are very much from what we can see leading the way in terms of pioneering it. Do you get much say, or do they sort of consult at any point in terms of how you would like board shaped? I mean, do they ever say how can we improve this for you and such, or?
Sure. The boards that use a stock, they're basically stock boards that are made. Obviously, if they use a different width board, same length board, but slightly different width, it'll be slightly lower literage, that sort of thing. I know because it's a massive international company, and if you imagine on the scale, I'm a UK subbed UK rider, so I'm quite far down the list. When you put me up on profile ways to Connor Baxter or Zane Schweitzer, you're looking at there's a lot further down the line. So what I do normally is I feed back on when I'm using equipment with people, and we talk about it with other athletes and other paddlers. So there's very little input into the actual design side of it. But what I've learned to do, probably by from observation as well, is I am like trying things out, as I know how to pick within a range what equipment's going to be more suitable for me.
Yeah. So back to from a training perspective then, in that case, obviously you do a huge amount of sort of cardiovascular wise and training and strength and conditioning. How about the diet? I mean, do you have a relatively strict diet, your food intake and such, or is it just literally loading up when you're training and such?
Yeah, I follow. I've had Ryan James give me quite a lot of information. And good mentoring in stand-up paddleboarding, but also includes the nutrition side. In fact, the nutrition side of probably all sports science and coaching is a bit that not only elite, it goes through basically to people that don't even do it or do hardly any sport. So the general rule of thumb, which Ryan told me, was like try and go for like 80% good food, like so high energy, high quality food, and then 20 maximum of 20% junk. So like having the occasional beer or eating crisps and that sort of thing. What I've also found is actually once you start eating good quality food, is that you tend not to want to eat bad quality food. You don't actually like it. You get tuned to it. Like for example, I would never buy a frozen pizza anymore unless I was absolutely starving and it's the only option there, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, it does. No, absolutely. I think, and I do the similar sort of thing with my family. Is you try and eat healthier, and you don't feel that you want the fattier foods, the higher in sort of sugars and salts and such. And when you do eat them, they don't feel as if they filled you up in the same way. It doesn't almost feel like a meal. So no, I can definitely get that. However, say that after an event of any sort, whether it's stand-up paddleboarding or cycling, after you've done a few miles, generally it's just a case of you just need fuel, you just need to eat. So it's that's kind of I think where I cheat out a little bit is after those kind of things. But,
I understand. Yeah, I'm in a lot of ways. I don't seem to have any problems with food allergies and any intolerances. I can eat basically anything that, apart from pretty much pickled eggplant. I can't. That's about one thing that.
No, that's good. I mean, from one thing that always fascinated me, and one thing that I have a real passion for in all sports, and I do a few different sports myself, is sort of technology. So activity tracking devices, apps, that type of stuff, and I really enjoy exploring how those can how that type of technology can improve performance and make a difference to people's experience and their improvement in sport. I mean, do you use anything sort of technology based wise when you race or when you train, and what sort of thing would you use?
I use a Garmin GPS at the moment with a heart rate monitor. Because water fluid, it's really hard to use other functional devices like when you're looking at distance and stuff. Because I think really with paddleboarding, because it's dynamic environment you're working in, it's good to. I try to work mostly off like heart rates, times and that sort of thing. But what I've found is if you use a certain section of flat water all the time, you can because they have a speed function on them. And that's been quite enlightening for me, because I've actually worked out when I'm paddling faster and when I'm paddling slower. When I was trying different blade sizes and that sort of thing, that was really, I'd use a certain fixed stretch of water, and as long as the conditions weren't really different, you could tell when you were going faster and when you were going slow, which also helped when I was trying to change my paddle technique as well.
Okay, so certainly you would find that the sort of the technology that's coming through and things like the Garmin's and the heart rate training definitely helps sort of your training and how you can improve and basically get faster, I guess.
Yeah, that's been really good. That's probably about the main piece of training technology I use. Pick up a lot of, try and read as much information on sports science as I can and see if I can apply it to myself.
Yeah, No, excellent. Well, back to the competitions in that sense. I mean, do you have a favourite? Because you must do a fair amount of competitions throughout the season, both the winter series and obviously through the summer. Do you have a favourite type of event and a favourite type of competition?
Yeah, sure. Anything. I think my most ones that are like interesting or new environments, somewhere different.
Yeah.
Challenging. Like challenging myself, or like sort of competing against myself, so like, and using the environment. So things like where you're doing open water stuff, downwinding.
Yeah.
I like in and out through the surf as well, because it's sort of more about how it could be really challenging conditions, and like it doesn't even matter if you win or where you come. It's more a case of like actually you completed the course,
yeah.
or survived that. That's really, and also doing I like the banter when we're sort of, because this sport's getting more developed. It's more the competitive aspect is starting to perhaps get a lot more serious, a lot more focused. There's a lot more money at stake. So I also like doing local races or local training with my friends around Bournemouth, and you're having a bit of a banter as well. Like if you fall off or if you come, you've got that friendly rivalry thing as well.
Yeah.
But also the challenge that you put on yourself and the challenge of the environments. So a race like that, it's good fun,
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, is there a favourite event you have in the season? I don't want to put you too much on the spot, but
Sure.
I mean, I've only done one so far. I love the Head of the Dart. It was great. To be honest, I was probably quite happy that it was reduced by 1.5 miles, but then the wind, I think, sort of counteracted that. But it was great fun. At no point did I feel, why am I doing this? It was still really enjoyable. So do you have sort of a favourite event throughout the year that you like to do?
Yeah, mainly any of the technical ones on the sea.
Okay.
We had we went to Jersey last year about this time and did one of the UK SUP race series races over there. And the conditions we had were probably the worst conditions I've ever paddleboarded before in my life, and it was just so memorable. Like getting to the beach and just like we were literally laughing, just the relief of getting to the end. But it was also like it was just like it was such a great leveling field. Basically, everyone found it absolutely challenging and so difficult. So that was really memorable race, and they got a fun one last year in Port Harbour where. In one of my good paddling buddies, Tim Harley, were going neck and neck to win it, like first, second, and we were changing all the time. It was really close, and he fell off. Just the wave chop just knocked him off about 3 meters from the finish line.
Oh
and
no!
I said, yes. So I put my head down and carried on paddling, and he said, because I think if we'd gone in that last bit, I think he might have bet me. But then, as I was pulling away, I put my head down, and then I looked up, and some kite surfer dropped their kite right in front of me. And so what I did is I had to basically pick up the lines with my hand and flick them over the top of my head to get through towards the finish line. And fortunately, I didn't get tangled up. And and actually managed to hold on to it. But it would have been even more amusing if I'd actually got tangled up in the kite and then he'd gone past me and won. You could see that. That was really good fun.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the great things about SUPs and about SUP events and such. Even though they are getting more serious, and there is that obviously competitive edge, at the same time there is a lot of fun, a fair bit of banter. You just don't get necessarily, I don't think, in some of the other sports. Like you would never have that in sprinting or running marathons and stuff like that. So I think that's a really nice thing about the sport. It's certainly one of the things I quite enjoy. I mean, for people out there that have never done it before, because obviously Paddle Nation is about trying to get more people into the sport, more people involved. So for people that have never gone out, never SUP'd before, complete beginner, maybe don't even know what one is, how would you suggest they get started? What do you think their first steps would be to get going, really?
Sure. Probably anywhere that offers like introductions to stand-up paddleboarding. There's so many good coaches in the UK, and there's so many good coaching organisations. So it's a good idea to just sort of get like an introduction to stand-up paddleboarding and have a go at it. Maybe a couple of lessons just to sort of get to the place where you're sort of confident enough to put on a wetsuit or get your paddleboard and your paddle and go paddling without having any fears or reservations. And then once you're to that stage, look for a club. The clubs are amazing. You know how we talk about like that sort of sort of aloha or fun spirit, that sense of community that they have. And they're very open, and they want to they want more members to come and sort of share with it as well, because it just makes the group dynamics really fun. And a lot of those clubs have got good. You can learn off those off the individuals within the clubs, just even social recreational paddling. And then when you want to improve something with your own particular, with your paddleboarding, say you want to, I want to try and paddle a little bit more effectively, or I want to turn the board more effectively, then occasionally go back and get more tuition in a more formalised sort of environment, perhaps.
Okay, that leads me on quite nicely, because my next question was around sort of surf steps, so your surf schools. So I was interested just around a little bit more. I mean, I've surfed for years myself, but I was interested just a little bit more, and I guess the people will be interested as well in finding out just sort of what your surf school does. And I guess that is taking people obviously onto the next progression. Would that be right?
Yeah, that's what we do. Because we're on an open beach environment, sometimes conditions aren't ideal for beginners to learn to stand up paddleboard in.
Yeah.
So that's why. So when it's like that, normally we offer surfing, and then if it's flat and calm, it's stand up paddleboarding. Because we haven't got a back beach location or a lake or anything close by, we can't really. It's hard sometimes to be able to offer what people want exactly when they want it. They'll always get a chance of doing it because those conditions will always exist. So for us, what we also offer. We can offer up to elite level coaching, paddle technique, board selection, a variety of and a lot of athletic support as well. We obviously offer because we're a coach training centre. We all usually a lot of our coaches go through that training centre. We work with a lot of coaches. It's lots. It's still quite a fluid sort of community within stand-up paddleboarding. We're happy to share what we do with others, and that's also to the point where people, if they're coming down a lot, we just go, look, or they're interested in developing further, we go, come and point them in the direction of a club that's local to where they are, and then they can go off and sort of go along the sort of like the development pathway into sort of where a lot of the training and development should be, which is in the clubs as well.
Yeah. And that must keep you really busy, because I'm guessing that the busy time for you guys from a business perspective is the summer, when it's warmer, when the weather's nicer, people are obviously coming down to the coast, holidaying and such like that. But that also must be quite busy for you, with worlds, different events, training and such like that. And obviously with young kids, I imagine that must just keep you absolutely stacked, doesn't it, time-wise?
Yeah, I'm quite lucky now, though. Last year I stepped out of the business as a manager, and I mostly direct now, and I do a lot of the consultancy, new business, and the coach and athlete training side of it. Okay. So the got a great bunch of people that run the surf steps on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
So my year when I used to manage it and actually run it as my own concern all the time, we used to be very, very seasonal. And now what I've found is my work is actually more Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, and it's quite nice. So after sort of years and years and years of doing weekends and like late evenings or early mornings, it got to the point where it's more even my work now. But the surf school, so I have to support the surf school a little bit more in the summertime. But sometimes a lot of my work's also the prep and the setup as well. So sometimes I get quite a good amount of time off in the summer, which allows me to sort of pursue sort of social and sort of racing side of it as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's good. It's good to have the balance. I mean, that's one of the things is obviously, isn't it, balancing between work and the recreational activities, and obviously your training and such like that, and to be in a position where your business is also what you love to do, is passionate, is really good, and I'm sure there's lots of people out there that would love to be in a similar position, obviously doing what they do as a passion for work as well. So okay, well that pretty much brings us sort of towards the end. I guess one of the things that we like to sort of speak about with everybody, and it's something that we do a lot as a team when we go out, whether we're on holiday, whether we're working, whether we're paddleboarding. Afterwards, we always like to have a nice sort of beer afterwards, a cheeky beer, and it's something we've come to know, because a lot of us ski as well, is what we call après sup. So I was just a little bit curious as to what would your ideal après sup be in terms of like locations, people, drinks, that type of stuff.
Sure. Sure. Yeah, it's a good one. It's fun. It's when I'm in season, because I'm not drinking and socialising much. Like you're focusing on that. Yeah, it's almost like you kind of. It's a really like when the competitions are over and the day, or the hard training's over. It's really good, just sort of like the relief. Like when we did the dart last week, just the relief of stopping paddling and then just like turning around and just talking to people and just relaxing. It's quite euphoric feeling after sort of like pushing yourself so hard. So I really, really like hanging out with sort of friends and family afterwards, just sitting down really, really relaxed, super, sort of bit of a low house spirit, just having a laugh and just switching off. But yeah, I mean, we've got where we are probably somewhere a bar near the beach or a barbecue, or sitting around at home with your friends on on the evening just talking. And that's sort of a nice feeling. And occasionally, maybe once in a blue moon, if you're in the right mood, maybe going out and getting out with your mates and having a few beers in the evening, somewhere maybe a bit later than normal is always a good thing.
I'm sure coming out the back of the world, there'll be a few beers had from you guys in terms of a hopefully very successful trip. So I'm sure there'll be some things come out of there. I mean that's kind of it from here. There was something we wanted to try and do. It's something that it's actually a game I wanted to try and play with you if we're able to. And I don't know if it'll work.
Okay.
I was going to share my screen, so I don't know if it'll work with your phone or not. And if it doesn't, it will go horribly wrong. But if it does, it should be quite good fun. It's something I created for a bit of fun. Some of the guys here love it, and some of them think it's a little bit wacky. But it's very simple. It's a game that I've called Push, Paddle or Pint. And basically it works in a very similar way to games like Snog, Marry and Avoid and such like that. It is a game where we show you some pictures and you will basically say, yeah, I'd push that person in the water. No, I'd go for a paddle with them, or actually I'd like to go for a pint with them. So it's just something that we wanted to see, and hopefully this will work. So what I'm going to try and do is share my screen, and with a little bit of luck...
Okay, got it.
Have you got it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we'll try and do this. We'll see how we get on. But like I say, it's called Push, Paddle or Pint. So you have to say whether you'd push them in the water, as you can see, whether you'd like to go for a paddle with them or whether you'd like to go for a beer. Now we've put up 6 photos. You probably can guess where this is going to go quite quickly. So what I'd get you to do is just use each one at least once. But obviously you can use them a little bit more than that. So what I'll do is I'll come down first of all. So hopefully you'll recognise this guy.
Yeah. Probably because I'd probably have to go for a paddle with him and then decide whether or not to push him off. And then if that works out, and then a pint afterwards. But yeah, we'll go. I would give a benefit of the doubt. I'll go for a paddle first.
Okay, so we'll put Cameron down for a paddle. Now this guy, I assume you recognise.
Yes, I do.
So for those guys out there that might not know, Led Hamilton.
Yeah, definitely good for a paddle. And then I don't know if he drinks, so definitely a paddle.
Yeah, probably coconut water, I'd have thought, or coconut milk or something along those lines. But yeah, there's a good one here. So hopefully we won't get too much trouble with your wife. But
is this Liz Hurley?
No, it's Angelina Jolie.
Oh, shows how much I look. Yeah,
she's going straight in the water, isn't she? I can see.
No. I must admit, I don't sort of. Yeah, I don't know very well, so maybe a paddle way. Okay,
we have to use push at some point. So you should recognise this one. It's not the clearest picture in the world, but this is Tom Hatcher, your manager at Surf Steps.
Yeah, definitely go for a pint with him.
Okay, I'm sure he'll be reassured on that one. Now this one, hopefully you recognise this guy. So this is Bo O'Brien from the Australian SUP team.
Yeah.
I think he'll be at the Worlds this year.
Yeah. I'll probably. Well, I hope I hope if I'm racing against him, he'll actually someone else will push him in. But I'd still probably still go. I'd still go for a paddle with him because I'll probably learn something from him as well. I'm not too. I think you can always get something from someone.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's been good because I think the only one you've not used so far is push. So the last one could be interesting for you. So that one coming up.
Yeah, Matador Surf. Is he? I wouldn't know the guy at all, but I think Matador Surf School, isn't it a surf school in Fuerteventura?
Well, I think from our research, I don't know if you can see him clearly, but I think that's Simon a couple of years ago.
Simon
Bassett.
Bassett.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
He's your coach, isn't he, for Team GB?
Yeah, he's a team manager.
Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely go for it. Definitely go for a paddle with him. But we went for a really good one with him, and we did some GB training, which was excellent. He took some cracking photos, and it's a great asset to have around.
Yeah, no, definitely. And it's somebody we hope in the future we'll be able to get on and sort of have a conversation with around the worlds and such like that, and around the training, and obviously for next year how people can go in about getting into the sport.
It takes a lot for me to actually to push someone in. But I think there's guys I'll do most people I do all three with they.
Yeah, no, that's great. Well, Andy, thank you once again for taking the time out of your busy day to speak with us. And I'm sure I'll see you at one of the next races that we're at, and hopefully we'll be able to sort of have a chat and maybe grab a couple of minutes of sort of an interview on camera, which we don't have sort of the internet feeds and such with that with. But thank you very much.
Yeah, great. Thanks very much, Joel.